Phil Knight is the founder of Nike, the $32 billion shoe company. He wrote this book recently called Shoe Dog, and in this video I wanted to give it a review and also go through 3 pieces of advice that he gives in the book that should help you with your business. I'm Alex Berman from Experiment 27. Phil Knight's rule number 1 is work with the best. When Phil was launching Nike, he had 2 issues. One was he didn't really know how to design shoes, and 2 was he didn't really have anyone that would supply him with shoes. There were 2 big problems because, if you don't have a product, how are you going to sell it? So he recruited as his co-founder his high school coach who was obsessed with testing different shoe concepts on him and the team in high school. He found this guy again as an adult, reached back out to him, and actually ended up giving him a 50% stake in Nike to come on as the designer. This was before he had any revenue or anything. So he worked with the best there. The other thing was solving the production problem. He was reading a lot about how Japan was the manufacturing powerhouse at the time. This was in the mid-60s, so Japan was recovering from World War II. They were really dominating. So he flew to Japan where it was war-torn. So he was in Tokyo after World War II, where buildings were blown up all around him, found these manufacturers, and was able to talk his way into getting the rights to sell these Japanese shoes in America. Which actually brings us to the second point. Phil Knight's rule number 2 is ignore contracts, focus on results. What Phil didn't know was the Japanese manufacturer he was working with said they would give him an exclusive contract, but what they actually did is gave him an exclusive contract on the west coast of the US and gave the nationwide contract to another former sports star who had a lot more clout. Phil could have let this take him down, right? Because he didn't legally have the rights then to keep selling the Tigers, as he called them, which was the original shoe that he was selling. And yet he kept going anyway, to the point where he actually ended up going back to Japan, talking to the distributor, getting them to agree that if he sold a certain amount of shoes, they would give him the real exclusive right. And then all the way to the point where he had to ditch that manufacturing plant in Japan and bring on a whole different manufacturing plant. So he didn't let what was written on a piece of paper get in his way. There's one other piece of advice that might be common to everyone in e-commerce, but in services it's a little different. Phil Knight's rule number 3 is pay all of your employees before you pay yourself. Phil was building revenue in the first 5-6 years of the business. His business was growing. He completely decimated the West Coast. He had sales all over the place over there. He was moving into the East Coast. He opened an office over there. And yet, for the longest time, Phil wasn't even taking a salary. In his book, he writes that it's 4 to 6 years before he even started pulling any money out for himself. And while he was doing this, he was actually working as an accountant at an accounting firm. In all, Shoe Dog is an amazing book on entrepreneurship and hustle. I would even put it in that top 10 of books that entrepreneurs need to read to get inspired. There's a link in the description if you wanted to get that one. I recommend the audiobook, but get whichever one you think is best for your style of learning. I'm Alex Berman from Experiment 27. Feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you like this type of content. Subscribe to this YouTube channel for more videos like this, and reach out to experiment27.co if you need support for marketing for your digital agency. Thanks.